Hello and welcome to today's webinar on using Compass Plus effectively to support careers impact internal leadership reviews. My name's Peter McKinney. I'm a Compass Plus consultant and I lead on the delivery of our virtual training offer. Now, as always, we have your best interest at heart when delivering Compass Plus training, and we want to make sure that you are well equipped with the knowledge and the expertise to really fully engage excuse me, with the internal leadership reviews in your setting. Now, as such, we'll run through quite a bit of content today, but please don't worry. If you've joined the webinar today, you will be sent a copy of the recording after the session. Now, you can then review this at your own pace later if you need to. So the recording, it will be added to YouTube. It'll also be chapterized as well, so that you can then quickly jump to the relevant part of the webinar that you might want to then watch again. Now, we have the webinar support and resources as well. Now, these are designed to help embed your learning from today's session. So these are available in both PDF and Word format, and these are accessible from the Compass Plus Help Centre as well. So if you're joining the webinar today, you can ask questions at any time during the session by simply using the Q&A function in Zoom. You would just click on the Q&A icon on the screen, and then one of our technical specialists will be more than happy to help. Now, before I do move on to the learn objectives for today's session, I just want to highlight that I'll be using a Compass Plus demo account for this particular webinar. So when I go into my demo account later, you may spot a few differences between what you see on screen when you're logged into Compass Plus and what you see in my demo account. Now, this is because we use a specific demo environment that is populated with dummy data to deliver all of our virtual training. So although there might be a slight difference in what you see, the core functionality I'll be demonstrating today, it remains the same. So it's also important, everyone, to note that I'll be using the demo account that's set up like a mainstream school. So if you're in a specialist setting, please don't worry. The functionality that I'll show you today, it works in the same way for all education settings. Just follow along to learn how to use Compass Plus with confidence. So here are the learning objectives for today. Now, don't forget you can ask questions at any time using the Q&A function. And towards the end of the session, I'll show you the Compass Plus Help Center. Now, this is where you can find guidance and resources to help you navigate the internal leadership review. Now, we also appreciate that everyone will be at different stages of their journey with the careers impact system. So try not to feel overwhelmed by what I'm presenting today, as you can always come back to this webinar at a time that's best for you. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail with this one, but we've got a short quote here from the DfE statutory guidance. Now, this endorses the careers impact system and the internal leadership review as well. So it's important to note the value that the DfE place on the careers impact system, which is hopefully illustrated here. So the maturity model, everyone, it applies to all institution types, and it's a real driver for whole institution improvement and embedding the distributed leadership of careers, that type of thing. So this is a great step forward in elevating the role of careers education within the education landscape. Now, just to set the scene for an internal leadership review, I'm going to play a very short animation now to explain what the careers impact system is and how important internal leadership reviews are as well. So to find out more about the careers impact system, you can complete the short course on the Careers and Enterprise Academy and also access the resources to support your understanding on the resource directory.
Embedding a sustainable and strategic approach to careers leadership can seem daunting, a complex task for education and careers leaders. That's why we have developed the Careers Impact Internal Leadership Review, designed to simplify this process. It forms a key component of the Careers Impact System. Free and open access to all schools, special schools, and colleges to undertake at their own pace. At the heart of the review is our Careers Impact Maturity Model. Divided into 6 themes, each directly linked to the Gatsby benchmarks. unpacking what good looks like in a sustainable and strategic way. Supporting careers and education leaders to align careers leadership to wider institutional priorities. Step 1. Staff convene to reflect on the maturity model. Step 2. The group agree on the best fit statements that reflect their career's leadership practice. Step 3. They record responses in Compass Plus or Compass to provide a snapshot of strengths and areas needing action. Step 4. Careers and education leaders act on strategic priorities and report to SLT and governance. Supporting institutions with a simple, strategic approach to careers leadership and ensuring a sustainable and seamless transition when careers leaders change. Driving continuous improvement to maximize positive student outcomes. Visit the resource directory to find out how you can get started with your internal leadership review today at resources.careersandenterprise.co.uk.
Okay, so as you saw in the animation, there are six key themes at the heart of all of this work. So they allow for us to standardize interpretation of the Gatsby benchmarks and then also allow colleagues to understand the value of the benchmarks in relation to whole setting improvement. So I'm just going to read through these now as they are really important. So we've got theme one, which is careers leadership, vision and intent and planning for development. Now that covers benchmark one. Theme two, which is addressing the needs of the learners and impact evaluation, that links to benchmarks one and three. We've got theme three, understanding of labour market information, or LMI, and future pathway options, and that links to benchmarks two and seven. Then we've got theme four, linking curriculum learning to careers, which links to benchmark four. Theme five, encounters with employers, employees, and experiences of the workplace. That covers benchmarks five and six. And then theme six, personal guidance, and that links to benchmark eight. Now, as you engage with the internal leadership review and the wider careers impact system, it will become much clearer how careers should be at the heart of education and leadership. So, careers can contribute to and inform whole setting improvement, including raising the attainment, improving engagement in learning, attendance behaviour, need prevention, and ultimately influencing more positive outcomes for young people. So, today's webinar will cover our 5 steps to success framework. As you can see here, there are different parts of Compass Plus that can be used to help inform an internal leadership review. And I'll be running through these in more detail during the session. So, we recommend using these before you complete the convene stage of the process, as you can then discuss the data with the colleagues that you've included during this particular conversation. So just in case you're not familiar with the acronym, FSQ stands for Future Skills Questionnaire. And On Track Plus is a new feature that was released in early February, which has been designed to help educators identify emerging support needs for learners in years 7 to 11, strengthening that sustained learner engagement and post 16 transition. But more about that later. Okay, now I appreciate there's a lot of information on this particular slide, and we'll add this into our help center when we upload the webinar recording. But I just wanted to reassure you that the functionality in Compass Plus directly aligns with each theme of the maturity model. So you may notice that the Compass evaluation is listed for each theme. As you remember in the earlier slide, that's because each theme of the maturity model is firmly rooted in the Gatsby benchmarks. Now, the Future Skills Questionnaire, or FSQ as we call it, is also listed a few times. And to find out more about delivering FSQ effectively in your setting, you can watch our latest webinar recording for more details on that one as well. Now, you can also see our 5 steps to success framework for today's webinar highlighted in teal on the right-hand side there as well. Okay, great. So let's dive into the demo, and I'm going to focus on each theme of the maturity model and walk you through the key functionality in Compass Plus that aligns with each one. So Just going to go into my demo account here. So let's start with theme one of the maturity model, which is the careers leadership, vision and intent and planning for development, which I mentioned before covers benchmark one. So we're going to look at evaluations for this one. So from the main navigation bar, I'm just going to extend that down a little bit. So from the main navigation bar, we'll go to evaluations and then we will select compass evaluation. So here you can access further guidance and resources about a compass evaluation. You can complete a new compass evaluation and you can also view your compass evaluation results. Now, as we have a feature focus session all about completing a compass evaluation, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this one now, but completing an evaluation is very easy. You just click on the green start button here. Okay, and then you answer a number of questions about careers delivery in your setting. And once you've answered all those questions, Compass Plus will then automatically calculate the results for you. And the Compass evaluation results, they can be found down here. Okay, so you can view your results here. You can copy your results here into a new evaluation. You can then share them here as well, or you can delete them if you wanted to. Now, as I mentioned during the introduction to the session, the careers impact system is firmly rooted in the Gatsby benchmarks. Now, the compass evaluation enables you to measure progress and performance against the 8 Gatsby benchmarks. So it's a no-brainer to use your compass evaluation results to then help inform an internal leadership review. So you may want to focus on the benchmarks with the lowest percentage scores from your compass evaluation. Then you can map this across to the themes of the maturity model to help you identify the gaps or any development areas as well. So as each theme, as each theme links directly into a benchmark, we tend to see that the education settings who are achieving high benchmark scores in their compass evaluations are usually scoring a 3 or 4 on the maturity model as well. So to find your most recent evaluation, you would just click in view results. Okay. You would then just scroll down to get an overview of your results. And then if you wanted to, you could just select one of the benchmarks to then expand on those results. So if we just looked at benchmark 3, for example, click the expand, and then you can see how you're achieving in each one of the assessment areas. Now, these results are also downloadable. So if I just scroll back to the top, so we can download your results by clicking on the download button here at the top of the screen. Okay, so you can download the results as a PDF, which includes a data visualization of your results, or you can download as an Excel spreadsheet, which shows the answers given for each question. Now, to view the data visualization of your results, you will just click into data visualization here, scroll down a little bit, and you can see your Gatsby benchmark results. Now, after you've completed an internal leadership review, you'll need to then record your responses in Compass Plus. Now, as you can see in the main navigation bar, just going to scroll back up, there is an option for internal leadership review. So we'll click into internal leadership review. So, just to be very clear, this is where you would go after you have completed an internal leadership review. When you complete a review, do pay attention to the language used in each column to ensure that you and your colleagues select the most appropriate response for your setting. Now, once you follow the process described in the animation that we saw earlier, you go into the internal leadership review section of Compass Plus, and then you can record your responses selected during that particular review. Now, as again, we have a feature focus session dedicated to recording an internal leadership review in Compass Plus. I won't go into too much detail now, but it's much the same as completing a Compass evaluation as well. You just click on the green button here, click on that, and then again here. You would then select the relevant members of staff who took part in the review. So let's say we've got the first 3. Click Save and Continue at the bottom. and then you just work your way through the questions for each of the themes of the maturity model. Selecting, like I mentioned before, selecting the responses that were chosen when you completed the review. And then when you've recorded all your responses, you would just click the submit button at the end, and then your responses are automatically saved in Compass Plus. Okay. So, as you can see from the screen, the internal leadership review page is very similar to the compass evaluation page. Now, this is intentional by design. It's to then to provide that consistency across the product and hopefully enhance your experience using Compass Plus as well. So, viewing your responses works also in the same way as your compass evaluations. You just click on view responses here. And if I scroll down a little bit, your data visualization for themes 1 and 2 is at the very top of the page, and then you can scroll down to see all of them. Now you can choose to view all responses by clicking in the green button here, and then you can see a detailed breakdown of the responses selected for each theme as well. Now, again, you can just click further down if we go into the recommendations. You can just click the down arrow to look at a particular area that you have answered. So if we select 2.3, we can see how we have answered that part of the internal leadership review. And if we wanted to, again, scrolling back up, this is downloadable. So you can only download your internal leadership review responses as a PDF. But it is important that you protect some time to review your sentence responses and start planning what can be done to move across the maturity model or maintain your position, certainly if you're in column 4. Now, how can the space between the columns be bridged? Think about actions that will have the highest leverage and certainly then unlock that progression into other areas as well. So when you share both internal leadership reviews and compass evaluation results, you can generate a link that allows anyone with internet access to view the content. They don't actually need to be registered, a registered Compass Plus user to use the link. So when you clicked on share, it will generate a link and then you can share that with others. Okay, so just going back to the navigation bar now. So let's move on to theme 2, which is addressing the needs of our learners and impact evaluation. So this maps to benchmarks 1 and 3. Now, for this one, we're going to explore the future skills questionnaire and how the data can support you to address the needs of your learners. Then we'll take a look at On Track Plus and how On Track Plus can, the data from that can help support the identification of young people who may be at risk of disengaging from secondary education or becoming NEET, which is not in education, employment, or training. Okay, so first step or first up is to go into questionnaire. So we're going to look at the future skills questionnaire. And once you've delivered the FSQ and your learners have completed the questionnaire, their responses, everyone, will be saved automatically in Compass Plus. So you can then review the FSQ responses using FSQ reporting. So to maximize the time we have available today, I'm only going to focus on analyzing FSQ responses after questionnaires have been completed. So if you want to know how to plan, prepare, and deliver an FSQ session, please do watch our dedicated FSQ webinar on YouTube, or alternatively, we have a bunch of resources available on the Compass Plus Help Centre that can support you as well. So we go into Future Skills Questionnaire. Now you'll see a range of tabs across the top here. We're going to start with the summary report. So the summary report, everyone, this gives you an overview of the positive and the negative responses to each question from each questionnaire type that the learners have completed. So you can use the summary report to see, for example, the questions that had the least positive responses per cohort, and then you can use that data to plan careers activities that would address this particular need. So we're going to look at 25-26 data. I'm going to stick with viewing the low scoring questions for the careers, knowledge and skills section of the questionnaire, although you can change it by clicking into this box here. We're going to stick with careers, knowledge and skills. Then it's into this box here where we are going to sort by positive responses. I'm then, if I scroll down a little bit, I'm then going to look at my responses for my year 11. So I want to look at responses for year 11. Okay. Now, we can see that 89 learners have completed this version of the questionnaire, and 73% of the questions have been answered positively. So if we scroll down a little bit further, through this data set. We can see at a glance the questions that learners answered most negatively, which are at the bottom. Okay. And if I just hover the bar, hover over one of the questions, which is question 22, you can see which question that then relates to. So that's our most negatively answered question in year 11. Now, scrolling back up, we can move into the detailed report. Okay. Now, the detailed report, everyone, this provides a more in-depth analysis of the responses from each questionnaire type that the learners have completed. So you can use the detailed report to view a learner drill down for each question, allowing you to then identify which responses were selected by individual learners. So again, I'm going to look at year 11, but focus the responses this time on the essential skills for life and work. So I'm going to look at year 11s, and then I'm going to filter onto. So I've got my selection there. So if I just scroll down, so the visualization even on the left here, this shows us overall how learners have responded to this section of the questionnaire. So you can click in any bar to see that learner drill down. So if I click on my 12 learners here, so these 12 learners have answered mostly negatively. So I can see which of those of who those learners are. Now, the visualization here on the right, this shows a question by question analysis. Okay, so you can apply a range of filters. Again, if I scroll up a little bit, you can apply a range of filters at the top here, and you can hover over sort of each one to see what the filters are. Okay, and then if you wanted to, you can then click on any one of these bars. So if, for example, we looked at question 29, so helping to resolve disagreements in a team, what do learners feel they are like at doing this? If I just select the bar there, okay, and then if I select on a I can't do this yet, so we've got 3% of learners saying they can't do this yet. If you wanted to, I can see who these learners are now. If I want to select a different response, I could just click on this little plus sign, okay, in the bottom right corner. It brings me up the responses, and then I can select a different response that I want to look at next. If I just minimize that. Now, what we can see here is these three learners all answered question 9 with I can't do this yet, which means we might want to create a custom group for these learners and invite them to an activity that will help them to develop their conflict resolution skills as a sort of short example. So what we can do here is if we click on create a custom group, okay, you would enter the relevant information for the group and then scroll to the bottom and click save. Now, custom groups are a great way to target provision and address learners' needs. The custom groups are managed in the activity section of Compass Plus, and are really useful to utilize. So when a learner is added to a custom group, the group will automatically display in their individual learner profile. So do watch our feature focus session on custom groups to find out more about them and how to use them effectively in your setting. Okay, so let's go back to our tabs up the top here. And if we click into the send report, okay, just scroll down a little bit. The send report, everyone, is essentially the same as the detailed report, but it provides you with more in-depth analysis of the learner responses to just the send questionnaire. So all the functionality I showed you in the detailed report is the same in the send report, certainly for the data visualization here on the left-hand side. For the question by question analysis as well, it's also the same. The only difference is that you filter by key stage instead of questionnaire type, as the send questionnaire is it remains the same across all year groups. So if I just click in the key stage, you can see here that we've got 4 and 5. Now, we've only got two learners that have completed the questionnaire so far this academic year, one from Key Stage 4 and one from Key Stage 5, as we saw in that drop down. But it is good to see that both of the learners have given mostly positive responses to the question. So if you work in a specialist setting, you may have more learners who complete the SEND version of the questionnaire, and therefore the data in this report will be larger for you to review. Now, finally, we've got the custom reporting over here. Okay. So custom reporting, everyone, this is a real game changer for analyzing FSQ responses as it enables you to create your own reports by selecting a specific set of questions. You can also download the data into an Excel spreadsheet as well. And we recommend using FSQ data to inform internal leadership reviews by examining themes from the maturity model first, then selecting specific questions from each questionnaire type that align to each theme. You can then use the custom reporting feature to focus on those learners' responses that directly correspond to those particular themes. Now, don't forget, again, you can download a PDF version of each questionnaire type from the Compass Plus Help Center. Okay, so next up is On Track Plus. So On Track Plus is just minimize that. Oh, it's just taking a little while. So that's just loading up there. Just to mention that On Track Plus, it's a new feature, everyone, that's been designed to help educators identify emerging support needs for learners in years 7 to 11. By doing this, strengthening that sustained learner engagement and post-16 transition. So On Track Plus, it aligns with sub-theme 2.2 from the maturity model. Okay, so where we access that is from the main navigation bar. We go into Learner and then into On Track Plus. So On Track Plus, it was released in Compass Plus early February, supported by easy to use guidance and resources to help you navigate and use it with confidence. And ahead of using On Track Plus, we encourage you to review your data processing arrangements to ensure you are ready to access this particular feature. Now, every Compass Plus user in your setting who will be using On Track Plus must read the On Track Plus feature guidance, which is linked here on the right hand side where my mouse is. Once they've read that, they must then tick the box to say that they've read it and they've acknowledged it. And once that box has been ticked, you will be able to fully utilize On Track Plus. Now, On Track Plus can support your decision making in early identification of young people who may be at risk of becoming NEET from years 7 to 11, and this will enable you to plan and provide targeted support for them. So the On Track Plus page, it's split into two tabs. Okay, the first tab is Manage On Track Plus Record with a range of, I just scroll down, a range of filters and indicators that you can select to refine and review that learner data. And then you can also create from this page here, you can create custom groups, which is in this section here, and then download that On Track Plus data as well. Now, the second tab is the Reports tab. So in here, we have two reports. Okay, so the first one is the distribution. Now, the distribution report shows how many automatic indicators year 7 to 11 learners have in total. Then we look at prevalence, and the prevalence report, this shows the percentage of learners that have each automatic indicator. Okay, moving back to the first tab here. So On Track Plus, everyone, it's provided to help learners in years 7 to 11 transition effectively through their secondary education and into post 16 options. So, learners with more indicators are not necessarily more at risk. So, indicators they highlight the factors for consideration and they must be then used together with your contextual knowledge. They must not be used to stereotype or assume outcomes. The indicators, they are there to support decision making, not to determine it. Okay, so now the next theme, and that is theme three. So, understanding of labour market information, or LMI, and future pathway options. And this aligns with Gatsby benchmarks 2 and 7. So, there are a few features in Compass Plus that can help with this particular one. So, as you've just seen, using FSQ custom reporting is an effective way to drill down into learner responses for specific questions. And you might want to gauge learners' understanding of LMI by focusing on industry and sector questions within the FSQ or exploring their responses to pathway questions to see if learners are aware of their various options that are available to them after secondary education. Now, ensuring that parents and carers have access to LMI, understand what this is and how it can be used to support careers conversations with their children is an important part of theme three. So you can use activities reporting in Compass Plus to filter by activities that have been aimed at parents and carers, and then you can then select Gatsby Benchmark 2 as well. So from the main navigation bar, we would go into activities and then activities again. And then from here, we would go into view activities and activities reporting. Here, you can select a different tab from across the top, but if we go into activities reporting, and I scroll down, here you can select from a range of filters at the top. Now, this will then determine what is going to then be displayed in this section down here at the bottom. So for this example, I'm going to deselect these, okay? We are going to select status. We are going to select year group, and we are also going to select, is this activity for a parent or a carer? And we'll look at main category as well. So then in our table down here below, everyone, we've got a column that says, if I just move down a little bit, we've got a column that says, is this activity for a parent or a learner? If we then select parent from here, okay, and then if we apply a filter on our main category, and then if we look at benchmark two, okay, and then if we look at the status column, and they've got planned or completed, it's great to see here that we've got an activity involving parents. It's either being delivered or is planned across all of our year groups. Now we can also review Gatsby Benchmark 7 activities in here as well. So just scrolling back up. Plus, there is a PAL requirements filter, so we could select that one quickly and then see the planned or completed activities that are PAL compliant as well. Now, another feature that aligns with Theme 3 is the alumni section of Compass Plus, as an effective use of success stories is a sub-theme for Theme 3 in the maturity model as well. Now, alumni, this covers two sections of Compass Plus with current learners and also left learners. So you enter the relevant information and gain consent to contact in their individual learner profile before, importantly, before they leave in year 11 or year 13. And then you review this information once they've left in the left learner section. So from the main navigation bar, we go into learners and then current. Okay. And what we do here is in this filter section at the top, we would select consent for long-term tracking. Okay. And then if we scroll along, I'll just move down a little bit. We can tick or untick the checkbox here, okay, to indicate if a learner has given you consent to contact them once they've left your school or your specialist setting as well. Now, as you can see, if I just deselected one here, a green notification pops up in the top right hand corner of the screen to confirm that you've amended their consent for long-term tracking. Now, if all the learners in year 11 have agreed to long-term tracking, you can then tick the box at the top of the column here to then select that. And if you then click update, every learner will display as having consented to long-term tracking. But be mindful when selecting this option, however, and make sure that all learners have given you their consent before updating. Okay, so from here, we can also go into learner's individual learner profile to record their alumni information and contact details. So you can either apply the relevant filters and select a learner from the list, or we can use the search bar up here and you can type in a learner's name. So if we just type in Rob, and then let's look at Rob James, we'll look at his learner profile. And then if we click into interest and destinations here, the second tab, and then I scroll right down to the bottom. There we go. You'll see the alumni section. Now you would just enter the relevant details in here. And when you've done, you would click Save All, which is just over here at the top of the screen. So you could incorporate gathering alumni contact details into end of term activities or as part of a personal guidance appointment. But don't forget, you've got to collect this information before a learner leaves. Okay, so once your learner leaves or a learner leaves your setting, their individual learner profile automatically moves to the left learner section. So we'll just move back up to the top. And if we go into learner and then click left learner, this section, it displays all of your left learners. As with your current learners, you can apply a range of filters to the data as well. So these will then determine the columns that display down here underneath. So for this example, I want to filter my left learners by those who've consented. So if I click on has consented to contact, and then we will look at emails as well. So I want to, I've selected these two options as I want to be able to email these learners who've consented and invite them back in to host an assembly for me. So in the table below here, okay, I'm just going to look at specifically year 13. So I can apply a filter onto my year 13s, okay. I am then going to apply a filter on the year that my learners left. So I'm going to look at 22, 23. Okay. And then the last thing that I want to do is I want to select yes for has consented to contact. So if I now scroll down, what we can see here at the bottom is we've got 23 learners who've consented to contact. So from here, I can download this information into an Excel spreadsheet and proceed to contact my alumni, inviting them into my event. So we can, if I've just shown you there, you can click the green download button and then select the filtered table as well. Now, before we leave this section and move on to talk through theme 4 of the maturity model, a final reminder that you must capture alumni information before learners leave your setting if you want to then be able to utilize their learner data in this particular way. Okay, so on to theme 4 now. So linking curriculum learning to careers, and no surprise that it maps directly to Gatsby benchmark. So, and for four, sorry, and for this theme, we're going to look at activities. So, if we click on activities again, you'll see two options here. If we go into create a new activity, you will then be asked if you want to create it for benchmark 1 or benchmark 2 to 8. So if we just leave it at benchmark 2 to 8, adding a new activity, everyone, it's really simple. You would just enter the relevant information into each section of this form. And then when you've done it, you would just click Save Activity. And the activity then will be automatically added to Compass Plus. Now, if appropriate in your setting, you could ask wider teaching and support staff to enter activities directly into Compass Plus themselves, or alternatively, you can also populate activities into our activities upload template and then upload activities into Compass Plus that way instead. Now, there are templates and guidance available on the Compass Plus Help Center to walk you through the different ways that you can enter activities into Compass Plus. Okay, so once activities have been entered into Compass Plus, you can use activities reporting to then review these activities on the data that aligns directly to Gatsby Benchmark 4. Now, this will help you to identify curriculum areas that are performing particularly well in linking curriculum learning to careers, and curriculum areas that may not, that may be finding this challenging and may need some sort of additional support as well. So where we do this, we go into activities and then into activities. And then we would click into view activities and activities reporting. Okay. And then from this section here, again, from the tabs across the top, we will click into activities reporting. So as with all the reporting functionality in Compass Plus, there are a range of filters that you can then select from here at the top. Now, some of the filters are already pre-selected for you. Okay. So I'm going to deselect some of these, leave main category and status. Okay, and what we are then going to do is if we go down to the filters underneath here, okay, and we are going to select an activity that is linked to benchmark 4. So we're going to look at Gatsby benchmark 4 and English, for example. Okay, so we can see here that there are 3 activities, 2 planned and 1 completed, linking curriculum learning for English to careers. So in line with the Compass evaluation, Gatsby benchmark 4 activities can be filtered by English, they can be filtered by science or maths, PSHE and other ones as well. Now, a top tip for you here is when you enter activity for Gatsby Benchmark 4 and the curriculum area is not English, math, science, or PSHE, add the curriculum area into the name of the activity. So when you review your activities data using activities reporting, it'll be so much easier for you to see the curriculum areas that you are hitting benchmark 4 for and those who you aren't. Now, if you want to view more information about an activity, you would then just click the activity here on the left-hand side. Now, if I clear my filter, okay, I just want to make sure you are all aware that you can also sort data. So if I just again went into benchmark status, that you can also sort data in this table as well by clicking on the double arrows. So we're clicking on the double arrows, we've moved everything from either planned, completed, or cancelled, and you can then start to sort that data and help you really view the progress and performance at a glance. Certainly next to each column, it's available there for you, so you can start to really apply the filters quite quickly. Okay, so next we are on to theme five, which is encounters with employers, employees, and experience of the workplace. So this maps to benchmarks five and six. So for this theme, everyone, we are going to look and focus on careers partners. Okay, so to access careers partners database, you either click on the find out more button from the home page. If I just go back to it, when that loads up, we've got a find out more tab on the dashboard, and that is accessible through here. And you've also got it on the navigation bar as well. So then we would just click start. So what I want you to think about Careers Partners is as your little black book. It's a safe and scalable database where you can record all the different employers, organizations, and agencies that deliver careers activities for your learners. So adding a careers partner is really easy. You can either add their details directly into Compass Plus, or you can use our upload template here as well. So you just click the green actions button up in the top corner there, and then you can see the different options that you've got available. So if you feel more comfortable reviewing data in a spreadsheet, you can also, like it says here, just move down one. You can also download the Careers Partners contact details from here as well. Now, we're not going to download any data today, but instead we're going to review our Careers Partners using the advanced search function. So if I just click into advanced search here, I'll just scroll down a little bit. So you can use the organization and name contact filters to check that you've got a broad representation of careers partners recorded in Compass Plus. So the advanced search function, it helps you to identify any gaps in careers partner coverage and then supports that targeted employer engagement as well. So when you click into a filter, so for example, organization type, you'll see a number in brackets. Now, in this example, it denotes the number of each organization type that you've got recorded in Compass Plus. Now, the same applies for organization sector. Okay, so if you click onto the organization section function here, and if we then scroll down or even had it up here, so we can see we've got creative arts. We've got eight employees or partners, sorry, recorded in Compass Plus within the creative arts sector. Now, I also want to highlight the third filter here as well, which is the PAL compliance. So you can quickly see how many careers partners that you have that will deliver PAL compliant activities. So we've got 14. Clicking on that, we can then scroll down. You can then select a filter. You can filter on the relevant data, and it will then appear underneath. Now, another key filter to highlight is contact available for. So if I just move that off, if we clicked into contact available for, filtering careers partners by activity is an easy way to sense check that you have the right organizations and employers that can deliver a range of important careers activities to your learners. So when we think about careers partners, it's important to note that you can use future skills questionnaire data to support building the diverse careers partners database. Now, you can analyze FSQ responses to see the industries and the sectors that learners are most interested in. Then you would use this as a checklist to make sure that each of these areas are represented by a careers partner that you've got recorded in Compass Plus. Okay, so the final theme of the maturity model is theme six, and this is personal guidance. And again, no surprise that this maps directly to Gatsby Benchmark 8. So for this theme, I want to demonstrate the power of a meaningful learner profile and how valuable this can be when delivering personal guidance to your learners. So Each learner has their own individual learner profile in Compass Plus, and that brings together their whole careers learning journey. So it includes the activities they've got planned or have already completed. It shows their interest in the destinations, if that information's been entered manually into Compass Plus. It also shows their future skills questionnaire responses and at risk of neat information too via the new On Track Plus tab. So from the main navigation bar, we are going to go into Learner and then into Learner Report. So I'm going to use the search bar again here to look for a learner called Rob. Okay, so searching for Rob. Okay, we've found Rob James here, and then I'm going to just click on his profile on the left. So this, everyone, is what an individual learner profile looks like. So you can see all of the different tabs here across the top. You would just click into them to view the relevant information, certainly uh, presented below. So if we click into interests and destinations, remember the interest and destinations tab is where you'd record Rob's alumni contact details. Okay. So you can scroll down and you record all of his interests and destinations. If we go into questionnaires, okay, so a top tip for the questionnaire section is to toggle the answers to answers only at the top here. And this makes it easier to view the learner's responses for the future skills questionnaire. If I then go into personal information, so the data in the personal information tab, everyone, this is pulled through from your Compass Plus, through to Compass Plus, sorry, from your management information system. So if we scroll down to the bottom, what we can see here are these are the groups that the learner is in, and that's also in this particular section as well. So some of these are pulled through from your MIS, some are entered manually via custom groups creation. And as I mentioned earlier, the last one is On Track Plus. So On Track Plus is our early insight feature to help you identify emergent support needs for learners in years 7 to 11, strengthening sustained learner engagement and post-16 transition. Okay, so focusing back to theme six for the purposes of a personal guidance appointment, you can create a learner report, which is essentially a PDF version of all the information that's been recorded in Rob's individual learner profile. So you can either download a learner report or email it directly to the learner through the Compass Plus from this section here. So for my example, I'm going to just choose to download the learner report so I can show you what the learner report actually looks like. So we've clicked into the download the learner report or generate learner report. Okay. Then we will click into the drop down here to customize the report and only select the information that we want to include. So we want to see Rob's activities, okay, that he's participated in, but I only want to look at this year's so that we can then start to ask him some questions about these experiences during his personal guidance meetings so that we're then going to select completed activities from this particular year, not all. So then we are going to look at the rest of the options. So if Rob's interest and destination information was entered manually into Compass Plus, we might choose to include this as well. But for my example, I'm going to take it out. So going to deselect his interests and his destination data. Okay. And finally, as Rob finds it hard to articulate his aspirations and plans after school, we're going to include his latest FSQ responses to help inform our personal guidance meeting. So I've got his future skills questionnaire, but I just want his most recent questionnaires. So we've selected all the information that we want. Now all we need to do is click confirm. Okay, and whilst that is downloading, I'll just talk you through the what it will look like. So a copy of Rob's learner report showing all of the information that we just selected. It'll be downloaded as a PDF onto your computer. And whilst that's doing that, I'll just wait for it. Okay, so what we've then got, I'll just move that over to the side. What we've got here is this is Rob's learner report. So you can then print this out and use it during the personal guidance meetings, certainly to discuss with Rob and identify any further advice, guidance, or targeted support that he might require. You can use the learner report like this as an effective way to support learners with EHCPs during their annual review as well. And using the activity reporting in a similar type of way, it also aligns with theme six of the maturity model, as you can quickly review progress with personal guidance meetings to ensure that all relevant learners have received personal guidance where appropriate. So as theme 6 aligns directly with Gatsby Benchmark 8, all you would do is just apply that filter in the main category column. Now, if appropriate, why not give your careers advisor access to Compass Plus so that each time they have a personal guidance meeting with a learner, they can add it in as a new activity to Compass Plus, prefixed with the learner's name as well. So I'm just going to take that off. Okay, so once they've done that, the activity will then be added automatically to their individual learner profile. Plus, it will allow you to use activities reporting in the same way that I've just demonstrated previous. So you will then be able to see at a glance the learners who have had a personal guidance meeting and those that haven't. So, personal guidance meetings, everyone, often present an ideal opportunity to support learners to complete the future skills questionnaire. And then the questions often sort of initiate those discussions about career ambitions, personal development, and then also plans for the future as well. Finally, for theme 6 as well, everyone, you can review on Track Plus data to help identify learners who may benefit from having a personal guidance meeting with your careers advisor. So again, from the main navigation bar, we're going to Learner and then on Track Plus. So you might choose to filter the indicators down here. So we've got automatic and manual. So you might choose to filter the indicators column by the number of indicators that the learners have. So if I maybe looked at learners with 6 and 7 indicators highlighted, and again, I must flag that the number of indicators can be used here to support your judgment as to whether or not a learner requires targeted intervention or support. The number of indicators are not a measure of risk. So please again remember that the indicators highlight factors for consideration and they must be used together with your contextual knowledge. So they can't be or shouldn't be used to stereotype or assume outcomes. They are there to support decision making. They are not there to determine it. So to learn more about On Track Plus, please watch our latest recording, which is available on YouTube and via our Compass Plus Help Centre as well. So personal guidance meetings, they may also identify learners who could be at risk of disengaging or becoming neat. So it's a good practice to have clear methods of communication with your setting so that your learners don't slip through the net and your careers advisor knows how to raise any concerns about learners following a personal guidance meeting. Okay, that's a lot to get through this. So that's the end of the demo, everyone. But let's just go back to our slide deck now as I start to bring things to a close. So, if you're keen to learn more about Compass Plus, please do join me for another Compass Plus trainer webinar this term. I'll show you where you can register for these webinars in a moment, but don't forget you can watch any of our previous webinar recordings back via our Compass Plus trainer playlist, which is available on YouTube. And we also have a feature focus series on YouTube now as well. So, if you've joined the webinar today, you will be sent a link to our YouTube playlist in the post session comms. Now, here is a quick reminder of our further support and guidance that's available. So you can access the Compass Plus Help Centre when you're logged into Compass Plus, but you can also access it online as it's hosted on a public URL, which means anyone with the internet can view the Help Centre articles. So all you need to do for that is, if I just jump back into here, is to go to the Compass Plus Help Center. You would open up a new browser and head to this particular page here. So here you will see all the different sections of the Help Center. You would just then click on a section or a title or an article to view that particular one. So if I click on the Help Center and then if I scroll down to the Careers Impact System, for example, if I selected this one, these articles, for example, have all been designed to support your understanding of the careers impact system and show you how to record and access internal leadership review responses in Compass Plus. So if we looked at how to access the internal leadership review on Compass Plus, okay, you would then get step-by-step guide as to how you can do that. Okay, so to register for another Compass Plus webinar, you would just select webinars, register for Compass Plus training on the left-hand side here. And then you would just click the title of the webinar that you want to register for. So here's where you can register for any of our upcoming webinars. you would just select it and register for that particular one. Now, also a top tip here in the Help Center is to use the search bar up the top here. So if there's something in particular you need help with, you would just pop the word or the phrase in here, and then all of the articles that contain that term will be displayed up here. So if I'm going to type in the word watch, okay, into the search bar now, so I can show you where you can watch previous webinar recordings. So clicking on watch previous webinar recordings, scroll down just a little bit. So you could click on the title of any relevant Help Center article and it will appear in here. So you just click the title of the previous webinar and then you can watch it. Now you can also access our feature focus sessions as well. So over here on the left hand side, clicking into Compass Plus feature focus. Okay, so you've now got all of the sessions in our feature focus playlist. So you can select individual or you can click in here and you can access the full playlist to then make that selection. Now, if you ever run into any technical difficulties, you can always raise a support request with one of our technical specialists from the Help Center as well. All you would do is at the very top, click into submit a request. You would then complete this form here with all the relevant information. Scroll down to the bottom. You would then click submit, the green submit button, and then the form will be sent through to our help desk. Okay, so just coming back here, just going to finish off running through the support offer here. So the next is the resource directory. Okay, here everyone, you can quickly find world-class, trusted, high-quality resources to help you plan, grow, and achieve. You can also complete a range of short courses on the Careers and Enterprise Academy. And then finally, please do reach out to your Compass Plus champion, your EC, or your hub if you have any questions about the internal leadership review or using Compass Plus more widely in your setting. Now, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. There was a lot to get through there, and I'd be really grateful if you could take just a couple of minutes to complete our feedback form. Just scan the QR code there or type the link into your web browser to share your thoughts and feedback about today's session. The information you provide us with is so important as it helps us develop our training offer, and we really do appreciate it. So I look forward to seeing you on another webinar soon. Thanks for joining me, and goodbye.